Johnny Depp and Amber Heard were once soulmates, lovers who took the vow of husband and wife. But their relationship was full of conflict and drama, which the jury has been hearing a lot about.
The language he used after particularly violent episodes was savage, monster, devil.
I was sort of not allowed to be right, not allowed to have a voice. So at a certain point, you start to slowly realize that you are in a relationship with your mother.
Johnny is suing Amber for defamation, claiming she told a malicious lie when she said she was a survivor of domestic abuse. Today, on the witness stand, Amber said there were witnesses to his physical violence.
And I just remember feeling so embarrassed. Felt so embarrassed that he could kick me to the ground in front of people.
We are live from Fairfax County, Virginia, as Amber Heard tells her side of the story, a story about love and violence. I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Another really dramatic day inside the courtroom. We're going to go through a lot of what happened today. So much happened that it's going to take some time to kind of peel through everything that's happening. But at the end of the day, this is still a trial. This is still a trial, still a search for the truth. And what you've got going on in that courtroom are two completely different versions of what's going on. When Amber Heard is testifying, you're hearing the story of an angelic woman, an angel who was doing anything and everything to try to save her relationship. She wanted to save her man. She wanted to be with him. She was in love with him. And she took the abuse. She took the abuse, but kept trying to make it work. She did nothing wrong. She did everything right. Johnny Depp is a monster. Johnny Depp is like the worst human being. And you listen to her testimony, you wonder, why on earth would anyone stay in the same room with him, let alone be married to him? Or marry him, because all this stuff, a lot of it's happening before they even get married. But when Amber is testifying, he is an absolute monster. Don't like him. Who would like him? An angry, drug-addicted drunk who is just violent and demeaning. That's what she's describing inside the courtroom. Now, Johnny Depp's already testified as well. When he testified, things were a little different. It wasn't an angel versus a monster. It was like a charming man versus this controlling woman. She doesn't let me finish a sentence. I try to get away from her, and she won't let me get away, and she gets physical, and she instigates everything. And I know, and Johnny, yeah, I know I've got some problems with drugs, but it just puts me to sleep. There's no violence. I've never struck a woman. Never. Why would I do that? Why would I do that now as a 50-year-old man? Why would I choose now to become a wife beater? It's her. She's the one instigating all the problems and the violence in this household. And that violence drives me to take even more drugs and alcohol to just numb the pain. They're both talking about the same stuff, but it's completely different, which leads to only one possible conclusion here. Someone is lying. Somebody's not telling the truth. I started and I said, you know, a trial, always a search for the truth, but somebody's lying. And that's what the jury has to figure out. There's plenty of ways to do it, right? You look at the witnesses, do you believe them? You listen to their stories, you listen to the other witnesses. Do they corroborate it? Is there physical evidence? Are there pictures? Are there videos? You know, is there something to back up your story? When you've got one story over here, another story over here, where is the truth in all of that? Well, right now it's Amber Heard's turn to tell her story and to testify, and she did today. And there was a lot of emotion on the witness stand today. And as this jury is trying to figure out who is lying, the question today inside that courtroom was Amber Heard crying on the stand today? Or was she lying on the stand today? And I think it is that simple, because the stories are very dramatic, they're very specific. And either you believe she is reliving this and going through what she endured and is crying on that witness stand, or she is just lying, not telling the truth. Well, the jurors will have to make that call. Obviously, people who are watching the trial are making that call as they're watching it. The jury doesn't get to talk about it until the end of the case, but we can talk about it tonight, and we will. So let me show you right now some of Amber Heard on the witness stand, emotional testimony. What do you think? Is she crying or is she lying?
I couldn't breathe. I couldn't get through to him. I couldn't get up. I couldn't get up. And I don't know how that ended. I don't know how. I don't know what happened next. I don't understand this. God, the next thing I remember, I always been over backwards on the bar, meaning my chest was up. I was staring at the blue lights, and my chest was on this, my back was on the countertops, and I thought he was punching me. I thought he was I'm sorry. I felt this pressure. On my pubic bone. He thought he was punching me. I just saw his arm. I could feel his arm moving, and it looked like he was punching me. But I could just feel this pressure. It was like it kept hitting. It didn't feel pain. It was just a pressure on my pubic bone, and I don't know. I don't remember what I said. I just remember being really still, not wanting to move. I remember looking around the room. I remember looking at all the broken bottles, broken glass. And I remember that it's just not wanting to move because I didn't know if it was broken. I didn't know if the bottle that he had inside me was broken.
In many respects, this is the story, right? This is the story. She's alleging a brutal sexual assault. And obviously, if the jury believes she's crying and telling the truth and reliving this horrific moment, Johnny loses. But if she's lying about it, what really was happening then? Let me bring in Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter, joining us live from outside the courthouse in Fairfax, Virginia. This day was, again, we were saying it a lot during this trial, but unlike anything we've ever seen on Court TV. Let's talk about what she's describing there. And this is part of a series of attacks, or a really chaotic scene that she was describing today of this attack. This was down in Australia.
Yeah, this is about a month after they married in 2015. It's in March. He's there to shoot the Pirates of the Caribbean 5 movie, and it really was just an ill-fated, infamous trip to Australia. She alleges, Vinny, that Johnny Depp, immediately when she arrived to Australia, took about 10 MDMA or ecstasy pills, and from then on out, it was complete chaos. She was held hostage for about 3 days. Her memory goes in and out according to her testimony, but she recalled several incidents over that time span where he brutally and violently beat her and sexually assaulted her with a liquor bottle. She became almost where she couldn't speak on the witness stand at times, emotional, trying to recount some of those times of what she remembered and the names that he called her. And there was one moment that really, as I sat in the courtroom, chills up my spine as she stared directly at Johnny Depp, who had his head down like that, and said to the jury what he was allegedly telling her while assaulting her. Let's watch.
Do you recall what Mr. Depp was saying to you when he had the bottle and was pushing it against your pubic bone?
He said that he'd kill me. He said, I'll kill you. He said it to me over and over again. He said, I'll kill you.
Right there, Benny, she's looking directly at her ex-husband, Johnny Depp, and she sustained that stare towards him for quite a long time, even after she stopped talking about him threatening to kill her, allegedly, one of a couple of times she testified to over the course of today's testimony. And the jurors, while still very stoic and nothing overt, were taking occasional notes today. Some would just kind of turn in and listen to her. Some are wearing masks. It's hard to really gauge what they're thinking or reacting. But I did notice particularly a couple of them look more towards the direction of Johnny Depp today, maybe because he was kind of moving around a bit more than usual as she testified.
I mean, to me, that sequence of testimony really is what this whole thing is about. And I could see a juror making a decision in that moment. Am I believing her? Am I not believing her? And depending on which way you go with that, could be the way this entire case goes. Now, when the jury is out of the jury box, Amber and Johnny crossing paths at times today, because she's in the jury box, she's in the witness stand, and his table is right across. Describe for us what happened today.
Vinny, it happened in the morning once, but it wasn't as bad. This afternoon when I'm in there and it's mid-afternoon recess, whoa, here it is. Okay, this is the moment we're showing. She's leaving the witness box, and of course, Johnny Depp has gotten up. You see his security detail walking over there, right there, maybe some eye contact. She immediately revolts. Her body revolts. She backs into our camera, our Court TV camera right there. You see behind her. It wobbles, and then she looks to the bailiff, who then guides her along outside the courtroom. Now, off camera right there, we kind of cut out when she's walking across the well of the courtroom. I'm watching her, and she's visibly shaking, physically shaking, where I could tell several feet away, of course, from the gallery, and we could hear her starting to sob. It was like, I said, I didn't think she was going to make it out of the courtroom before she had a complete breakdown. And once that door opened, I could hear her get louder, and they shut the door, of course, but she really did seem affected by about almost running into her ex-husband there, Johnny Depp, and then, of course, what she was just telling the jury, reliving. It really did seem to affect her, and she didn't know that the cameras were really on her as she was making her way out of that courtroom.
Right, and based upon the testimony today, this would be her going past the man she says sexually assaulted her as well. I mean, it's her ex-husband and all of that, but based upon today's testimony, I mean, you don't get moments like that often inside a courtroom. You just don't. Because if it's a criminal case, they are keeping people separated, you know, at all times, making sure that nothing even close to that happens. Wow. All right. Amber also testified today about being on television after one of these incidents. Tell us a little bit more about that.
She did. Right, so this was an incident in December 2015, several months after Australia, and this is the incident that she said she really felt like she was going to die during this alleged assault between her and Johnny Depp, in which he, at their penthouse in downtown LA, was assaulting her to the point that the bed broke. He headbutted her. She had a busted lip, 2 black eyes, and a chunk of hair was pulled out of her scalp, according to some of these photos that the jury was shown this afternoon. And she also testified about having to make a choice on whether or not she would appear on the James Corden show the very next day. She had a booking, and she talked about working with her makeup team in which to cover her black eyes, her busted lips. She had to choose that bright red lipstick to cover that injury. And she also talked about less hairspray because it burned her scalp from the sores on her scalp. So we have pulled that clip from the Late Late Show with James Corden, her appearance. Let's watch.
In the movie, you play a ballerina. Did you study ballet? Could you already do it?
No, pretty much the opposite. I grew up, in Texas, riding horses and...
Oh, really?
Not
a big ballet community out there in Texas?
No, not so much.
So everyone can watch that and judge for themselves on whether or not they can tell that she has any injuries or if it was a miracle makeup job that covered everything. But it's just interesting to look at that clip now, knowing her story about what happened just hours before she made that television appearance.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it could be pieces of evidence like that and questions like that the jury has that helps them figure out the truth in all this. Chanley Painter, we'll check back with you in a little bit. Want to bring in a special guest joining us by phone in Los Angeles, California. Senior editor for Deadline Hollywood, Dominic Patton, back with us. Dominic, thanks so much. Let me ask you the question that I'm asking right now. Based upon this testimony today, especially that Australian incident that was described by her, was she crying or was she lying on that witness stand? You know, many people were looking for tears that they said they didn't necessarily see today. What did you see?
Well, I saw it partially, Vinny, and thank you for having me back. Always appreciate it. What I partially saw is what I've said before when we've chatted, which is these are 2 actors on stage. These are 2 actors on the stand, and their professions shouldn't be decoupled from their relationship and the case that we're dealing with here. So I certainly saw a lot of that. But Amber Heard's emotional display, you'd have to be stone-hearted not to be moved by it on some level, but you'd also have to be very, I would say, woolly-minded to not recognize that you're also watching a presentation here. One that was very, very carefully orchestrated by her legal team, strategically so. And I will also say what was very important here for me, specifically watching this, is they're preemptive. You know, they know that after the break of next week, because we should say the case goes dark next week because the judge has a pre-scheduled event to go to a conference. When they come back, very soon, Amber is going to be cross-examined. It is going to be brutal, as it was when Johnny Depp was cross-examined by the defense team. One of the things that her defense team is doing is they're planting the seeds of this. One of the accusations Johnny Depp has made since the beginning of launching this lawsuit in March 2019 is that Amber is not the victim of domestic abuse, despite what she said in that Washington Post op-ed. It's him, and he can prove it. She hit him, and she did this. And she talked today about, in 2015, striking him, punching him. She said it was to defend her sister being thrown down a flight of stairs or knocked down a flight of stairs. She talked about fighting back. She talked about screaming and shouting. She talked about her own being ashamed of these things, as well as talking about repeated sexual assaults, physical, verbal, and emotional violence. So I think you're seeing a very telling turn here. The question that you posed, and it's such a smart one, which is how will the jury interpret this?
Yeah, to me, today was the biggest day. That was the biggest moment so far because you know, depending upon how you react to that moment, you could make your decision right then and there. Dominic Patton, we're a little short on time tonight. We have so much testimony to show, folks, but always appreciate it. Dominic Patton, senior editor, Deadline Hollywood. Check them out. They are breaking news left and right on this story. When we come back, folks, we're going to talk about two things: love and violence. That's what was described today. When we come back, we'll begin with the love side, the love story. Johnny and Amber. Was it true love? Was it mad love? Was it crazy love? Was it dangerous love? Our experts will take a look.